do want to get to impeachment because there has been some movements there. Nancy Pelosi is now preparing to send the articles of impeachment to the Senate after she withheld them. It's been sort of the standstill for 3 weeks, insisting that Mitch McConnell outline the ground rules for the trial. McConnell didn't budge. And the question is a political one, because I would make the argument that this standstill for 3 weeks has made it so people aren't talking about impeachment. If there was this urgent and this dire need from Democrats to get this done, Nancy and the Democrats would have found a way to do this. And I'll speak for the state, but we haven't talked about impeachment for the last 2 weeks.
Well,
is this a good thing for Democrats?
I'm not sure I agree with that, Abby. The bottom line is this. We Democrats, 3 weeks ago, I sent a letter to Mitch McConnell saying we wanted the truth to come out in this trial. We wanted witnesses. We wanted documents. Who's ever heard of a trial without witnesses and documents? And we requested a limited number of witnesses, all of whom were eyewitness to what President Trump is alleged to have done. And what he's alleged to have done is very serious. To tell Ukraine, you interfere in our elections or I'm going to withhold your aid, is exactly what do we Americans want foreign powers interfering in our elections? It should be the American people who decide. So it's serious stuff. And over the last 3 weeks, we have been able to focus on getting witnesses, documents. And these witnesses, by the way, are not what Republicans say they're Democratic plants. They're the people appointed by President Trump, Mulvaney and Bolton and Blair and Duffy.
Right.
And I don't know what they'll say here at the trial. You know, it could be exculpatory. It could be further incriminating, but we'll let the chips fall where they may. But we will not rest until we get the truth. You know what Joe Friday used to say, just the facts, ma'am, on the old Dragnet show? That's what we want. Just the facts, ma'am. And we're making progress. Some of the Republicans are now beginning to say, maybe we need witnesses and documents. Had Nancy sent the stuff right over and McConnell moved to dismiss, who knows what would have happened?
So Senator, 71% of Americans do want to hear from witnesses at the Senate trial. Mitt Romney himself says he wants to hear from witnesses. We're not so sure about Mitt Romney because he has been flaky in the past. But is this enough to pressure moderate senators to push for witnesses, do you think?
Well, here's something interesting, Joy. The American people overwhelmingly want witnesses and documents, and 64% of Republicans, Republican voters, in a recent survey said, we want witnesses and documents. So there is tremendous pressure on Republicans from their constituencies.
Why isn't that enough for Mitch McConnell, though? You're telling me the Republicans want it. Why doesn't he do it?
You know what Mitch McConnell said. He's going to listen to whatever Donald Trump wants. And one thing we seem to know, Joy, Donald Trump does not want the truth to come out. If he were so sure that he was right, he would have said to us, have the witnesses, have the documents, they'll tell the truth. But he's afraid of the truth. But in something as sacred and profound as an impeachment, we need the truth. There have been 16 impeachment trials, 2 for president, 14 for other things in the history of this republic. In only one was there no witnesses, and that's because the guy they stopped it before that would happen. Every other trial has had witnesses. Every other trial has had documents. How can you run it? The common sense. How do you run a trial with no witnesses and documents, no evidence?
Yeah, well,
that's
he can't handle
wants.
the truth.
That's it. You got it.
Senator Schumer, this is Megan. It's nice to see you again, even via satellite, even though Democrats and Republicans aren't supposed to be friends. But, you know, we go back a little. Yes, we do. You've criticized Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell after he described himself as not an impartial juror. But during the Clinton impeachment trial, you had made similar statements on CNN. You said, quote, this is not a criminal trial. It's not like a jury box. It's susceptible to the whims of politics. It's quite different than a jury. So do you find that hypocritical, or do you find the argument from the right about... Okay.
There are two differences, Megan. The first, personally to me, I'm sort of a historical footnote, because I was in the House in 1998, and so I was on the prosecution, on the voting for impeachment, and then I went over to the Senate. So I'm in sort of a unique position. I was then. But more important, the witnesses that were being called on in the trial in '98, as you may remember, had already testified. They had given grand jury testimony. Everyone had looked at it. The American people knew what they said. So people wanted to bring them back again. The witnesses we are seeking have not been heard from, and they are the people with the greatest knowledge as to whether the president did what is alleged to, what he is alleged to have done, which is influence a foreign power, cut off their aid, to get them to affect our election. Nothing. You know, it's funny. When I was in high school, maybe this happened to you, Megan, we read that the founding fathers were most afraid of a foreign country interfering in our elections. And I shrugged my shoulders. I said, what's that all about? Well, once again, the founding fathers were a lot smarter than all of us.
Wow.